All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're tackling a massive question, one that sits at the heart of, well, pretty much everything. How does order just happen? How do a bunch of simple, disconnected parts with no blueprint somehow organize themselves into something complex, something that matters?
You know, the thinker David Krakauer from the Santa Fe Institute put it perfectly with this question. It's not just what are we made of, it's why. Why does any of it bother? The answer, it turns out, hangs on one incredibly powerful idea.
And that idea, it's called emergence. It's a concept that you see everywhere, from physics to biology to AI. And it gives us a totally new way to understand how the universe cooks up new stuff, not from some master plan, but just by letting things connect.
So what are we actually talking about here? Well, put simply, emergence is what happens when a bunch of things interact and create something totally new, a property that you would never, ever find by just looking at one of the pieces by itself. It's not magic, it's just the power of relationships.
Okay, let's make this real, because this is where it clicks. Think about wetness. A single molecule of H2O isn't wet. Wetness emerges when tons of them get together. Life itself, it's not hiding inside a strand of DNA. It emerges from this incredibly complex dance of chemistry. Your mind, your consciousness, isn't in one neuron, no way. It emerges from the whole network firing together. And even meaning, the meaning of these words, it doesn't live in my mouth. It's emerging right now, in the space between you and me.
And this is so crucial. This isn't just about something new popping up out of nowhere. It's about a whole new level of organization, a new behavior that just wasn't possible before the parts got together and reorganized. It's not something from nothing, it's everything from connection.
And this leads us to this amazing paradox. We usually think that to get order, you need a plan, you need tight control. But what if the exact opposite is true? What if, to get something truly new, you actually need a little bit of chaos? Now, this is where the story gets really good.
See, for a long time, the dream of science was total predictability. If you knew all the rules, you could predict the future. Simple. But then, thinkers started finding cracks in that idea. First, Poincaré showed that even simple systems following simple rules could behave in wildly unpredictable ways. Then, in the 60s, Lorentz gave us the famous butterfly effect, showing us that chaos isn't just random mess, it has a hidden structure. But then came the kicker. Prigogine proved that systems that are unstable, systems under stress, can spontaneously organize themselves into new, more complex forms of order.
Which brings us to this incredible idea. And listen, this isn't just some nice poetic phrase. The idea that chaos is the womb of new order, that's the conclusion of hard science, of physics, of biology. It's a fundamental rule for how new things come into the universe.
Just let that sink in for a second. Disorder is not the enemy you need to eliminate. It's the raw material. It's the pressure, the instability, the chaos that actually forces a system to get creative, to reorganize itself into something that works better, something new.
Okay, so I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds a little big and philosophical, right? Cosmic principles, the universe. But what's so cool is that this exact same way of thinking is completely changing how we get results in a super practical field, artificial intelligence.
In this slide, wow, it just lays it out so clearly. The ineffective way, the way a lot of people start, is with this big, vague goal. Hey, AI, build me an app like Instagram. You're just hoping for some magic to happen, and usually you just get chaos. The effective approach, you break it down. You start with a small, concrete sprint. You create the conditions, and you manage the complexity.
So what does this actually look like? It's this simple but really powerful loop. First, the human plans. You provide clarity, you set the rules of the game. Then, the AI executes. It builds something within those rules. Then, you observe. You look at what actually emerged. And finally, you refine the plan for the next round. You're not just giving commands, you're directing the flow of emergence.
So here's the real takeaway for working with AI. You don't ask it to magically invent the whole system from scratch. You ask it to build within a system that you define and understand. That's the huge difference between treating AI like a magic trick and using it like a true creative partner.
And that's the thing. This brings us right back to the beginning. Because this idea, this deep principle, it's not just for scientists or coders. It is a powerful new lens for looking at almost everything we do.
Think about it. Whether you're leading a team, trying to write a song, or just working on yourself, you can't force a breakthrough. You can't just command a great idea to appear. But what you can do is create the conditions for it.
You set up the environment, you foster the right kinds of interactions, you add the right constraints, and then you have to step back and let something new emerge all on its own. So, I'll leave you in this question to chew on. In your work, in your life, in your own creative process, where are you trying to force a specific result? And what might happen? What amazing thing might just happen if instead you focused on creating the conditions and just waited to see what would emerge?